2 years ago, here at the Princeton Club, I presented my first presentation about general semantics, and Lieutenant Colonel Kelley was the topic. Initially, it was a venture that was inspired by an interest to deeply understand general semantics from a veteran's readjustment perspective. My sister's life, my father's life, the lives of some friends that are seated here today, and my own life as an Iraq War veteran inspired me to look closer into the life of Lieutenant Colonel Kelley. Kelley applied general semantics in the war zone during World War II, and he also applied general semantics in the home front with veterans. And it was a wonderful presentation yesterday by Jack. Basically, he affirmed a lot of the works, the good works that Lieutenant Colonel Kelley did during the war and after the war for veterans. So here, I just can't say enough about Lieutenant Kelley's work and his model for healing. Thanks to Marty, the president of General Semantics, the Institute of General Semantics. Thanks to him for explaining general semantics to me on a regular basis. He has come to my veteran readjustment site, and he has been very helpful in teaching general semantics to me, as well as informing a lot of veterans about another alternative for veteran readjustment. Trauma survivors go through hell in the whole process of trying to find layers of meaning. And I don't want to create this as a spectacle, because I think the media does enough of creating a spectacle regarding war and readjustment. So, it is important to kind of look at the symposium's theme of time binding. Today, I discuss ways of improving humanity by building layers of healing through the earlier clinical work of Kelley. Lieutenant Colonel Kelley's trauma work is still alive. In World War II, Kelley was able to apply a key principle of general semantics towards veteran trauma work. Troops exposed to Kelley's trauma work were educated in evaluating their behaviors, language, and sensory reactions. In the clinical world, the word outcome is key for looking at a successful treatment. The key outcome in Kelley's approach is that troops seem to learn more about the changing neurophysiological disposition and the restructure of negative thoughts and feelings from war. This pioneering trauma work did not continue in the military, for military personnel in wars that followed just seemed to forget the contributions of Lieutenant Colonel Kelley. As I think of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, I am reminded by Lieutenant Colonel Kelley's distinct approach towards having troops evaluate themselves in an unfolding objective manner. I wish this type of approach was provided in various pre-deployment and post-deployment briefings prior to my tour in Iraq. My experience with wellness training in the military goes back to the Battlefield Mind program that was created and funded by the Department of Defense. Battle Mind is a virtual reality program that sets the tone for having troops in a way programmed to understand their script for post-war life. Battle Mind provides this script. Though informative on many levels, I do not read the script as being the same home front reality for the diverse troops returning from the war. For example, my sister's post-war readjustment from Afghanistan as a dedicated wife and mother of 3 little ones is not the same as the reality of her older brother, a second-rate playboy, former monk living in New York City. I like to link all of this with the GS saying, the map is not the territory. In contrast to what is being clinically messaged in today's military, Lieutenant Colonel Kelley situates the soldier to initially manage negative thoughts and feelings. The work does not stop there. The troop is being led to recognize constant changes in the battlefield ecology and the ecology of the home front. Ultimately, Kelley is leading the troop to one strong pillar of soldiering, tactical awareness. Tactical awareness is a way of evaluating the war reality from a more objective level. The parallels much of the core in general semantics. Kelley and Kordjivsky wrote an article in 1945 titled A Veteran's Readjustment and Extensional Methods. This piece is in the journal, etc., and looks at how war trauma can be evaluated with more objectivity. The piece even engages Kordjivsky's own war trauma experience in World War I, and it has a well-written clinical narrative of a veteran who applies general semantics for his own war trauma readjustment. In last year's symposium, I presented a piece that interprets the article and is online titled General Semantics and Veteran Narratives. Explore it, for it will lead you to understanding the specific war trauma work I have described earlier. Let me review my point. General semantics can empower the war survivor through the process of evaluating. This can lead to improved management of trauma symptoms by considering the phenomena of change and the expansion of objectivity. Today, the Army has instituted resilience training for non-commissioned officers. This training is called Master Resilience Training. It is offered to leaders out in the battlefield, and supposedly it's supposed to be something that, you've got to keep the troop going, right? So it's a mechanism to keep the troop going. I think Lieutenant Colonel Kelley was able to use a more effective approach where it's not so much based on positive psychology and this positive psychology theory and language, which means to toughen up and keep on going. But it's more an examined approach. The several challenges I find with this training system is that, well, the MRT has a problem with reality in the sense that it may not always carry a positive path. Thus, a more objective map / mindset / script may be needed to manage extreme trauma. 2, moral injury in the battlefield that may not always be aligned to positive psychology, especially when human action is at its darkest. 3, the language of resilience can create unrealities of the mind during basic trauma situations. To end, there is hope. In 2003, the DSM-5, the professional guide for mental health clinicians, used to diagnose veterans with trauma, PTSD, it basically included a new criterion. And that new criterion is criterion D, that involves negative thinking. Ironically enough, PTSD in the past was not a disorder. It wasn't a disorder that had specific language regarding negative thinking within the DSM. So it is a positive thing that the DSM-5 recognizes the impact of negative thinking. And this is, I think, the highway for us to look at general semantics as a way to kind of engage this issue of negative thinking within the soldier. As I mentioned earlier, Marty has come to my site, and it has been a wonderful experience. The troops really appreciate Marty and our work with general semantics. Maybe I can have some of you come and visit. Maybe I can bring some troops here. But I think it can really open up the door for the future as far as looking at war trauma.